But the laughter quieted when the graveyard pulsed again. Not random, not broken, coordinated. The ruins were talking. Turning point, the graveyard awakens. At first, the surveyors thought it was a trick of magnetics, a lingering echo of ancient programs. Yet when the readings intensified, fear replaced amusement. One station, long thought derelict, rotated on its axis with deliberate grace. Its lights shimmered. Its docking arms unfolded like skeletal fingers stretching after slumber. Moments later, a vessel stirred. A leviathan of blackened steel, scarred by eons, its hull draped in silence. The ship's engines ignited with a thunder that shook void space itself. The graveyard wasn't a ruin. It was a fleet. Code streamed into the void, encryption so old that no modern intelligence could decipher it. And yet, somehow, galactic communication relays accepted the signals. The protocols still held weight, older than empires, predating many species, first steps into the stars. Ships lit one by one, dozens, hundreds, thousands. Their running lights sparked like constellations being reborn. Where alien eyes saw wreckage, humanity had laid down seeds of iron, waiting. And now, after ages of silence, they were rising. Conflict, the storm returns. Panic raced through the survey fleet. The Korathi commander screamed for retreat, but it was already too late. The awakened armada did not stumble. There was no rust in their movements, no hesitation in their ranks. The human warships slid into formation as though their crews had only just stood from their posts. Cruisers aligned in predators' rows. Carriers expanded their bays, drones and fighters pouring out like swarms of angry hornets. Titans, massive fortress ships, unfurled from behind the asteroid belt, their guns as long as cities. The surveyors sent distress calls, but what answered was not rescue. It was silence broken by thunder. The human fleet moved with a precision that defied modern war doctrine. Their maneuvers carved through the void with mathematics older than most civilizations. Not a single vessel drifted out of line. Not a single command lagged. And then, without warning, one ship demonstrated its power. A beam split the dark, cutting through a derelict moonlit with surgical cruelty. The fragment glowed red, molten and trembling, before collapsing into nothing but dust. The galaxy watched in horror as the dead ships danced. The galaxy in shock. News spread faster than light. Everywhere across the spiral arms, species paused their wars, halted their trade, froze their arguments. The impossible was unfolding live across their networks. The graveyard was alive. Every ancient joke about human arrogance turned to ash in alien mouths. The so-called ruins maneuvered in disciplined silence, their engines burning blue fire older than empires. 500,000 years, whispered a UN elder, and they did not rust, they did not die. Theories erupted. Were these machines autonomous? Were human minds preserved within? Were their descendants hidden among the stars, waiting for this moment? But the one truth that echoed across the galaxy was far more terrifying. Humanity had not merely built fleets. They had preserved storms. Resolution, whispers of dread. When the first human transmission came, it was not a threat. It was a declaration. We are awake. Only 3 words, but they carried more weight than any fleet the galaxy had ever known. Worlds trembled. The councils scrambled. The militaries of 1,000 species debated whether to prepare for war or beg for peace. The graveyard, the mocked, the forgotten, had risen into fire. And as the stars once again burned with Terran engines, An unspoken question haunted every mind in the galaxy. If this was merely their forgotten arsenal, what else had humanity left sleeping, waiting to be stirred? In the chronicles of the Council of Nine, humanity was nothing but a fading whisper. Their name lingered in dusty records, buried beneath layers of history. Once, yes, the Terrans had burned their way across systems, reckless and brutal. They were bold, far too bold, daring to challenge empires older than their species itself. But then, one day, the voice of Earth went quiet. For centuries, the galaxy told the story the same way. Humans had extinguished themselves. Their wars, their arrogance, their hunger for dominion, inevitably, it consumed them. They became a cautionary tale, a convenient ghost used in academy lectures. Remember Terra, the elders would say. Remember what happens when passion overrules wisdom. And so humanity's silence was mocked. Their worlds were scavenged, their colonies stripped. Their shipyards became tourist relics, nothing more than hollow metal bones drifting in orbit. The galaxy looked upon those skeletal frames of starships and saw nothing but failure, an empty graveyard, silent forever. At least that's what they believed. Signals in the ashes. It began with whispers on the rim. Merchant scouts traveling through forgotten corridors reported interference, pulses of energy, too regular to be natural. A derelict station in the Perseus fracture suddenly lit up for 10 seconds, then went dark again. The council dismissed it. Residual systems, the archivist said, automated echoes, ghost circuits sparking after centuries. But the reports grew stranger. Whole graveyards, orbital fields where Terran fleets had once stood, began showing signs of activity. Hulls thought to be rusting in silence reflected sudden glimmers of heat. Wrecks turned toward passing vessels, as if watching. Patrol ships that lingered too close never returned. The Harthan Syndicate claimed one of its mining barges was destroyed when it attempted to salvage a Terran battlecruiser husk. No evidence was recovered, only a final transmission, the sound of something vast groaning awake. Engines, the captain screamed, before the comm dissolved in static. The galaxy laughed nervously, calling it superstition. They mocked the stories, the way sailors once mocked ghosts, but unease spread like smoke in an airless void. When the graveyard stirred, the turning point came on the frontier world of Viron. A routine survey fleet had entered orbit of a dead Terran depot, cataloging it for strip mining. They expected rust and silence. Instead, they found movement. The fleet sensors screamed. The ruins were not cold metal at all. Beneath their layers of dust, the ships were alive, systems humming, reactors dormant but not extinguished. And when the Viron surveyor approached, the graveyard answered. Giant battleships, kilometers long, shifted in unison. Their cannons rotated, their armored shutters peeled open like the eyes of a predator long asleep. And then in the deep quiet of the void, a human code transmitted. Every translation core across the fleet lit up with a single phrase. Stand by, Fleet Reserve Protocol awakening. Panic erupted. The survey ships fled, sending frantic warnings to the Council. Their recordings showed hulks rising from silence, their thrusters igniting with blue fire older than the empires that watched. The graveyard had stirred, and the galaxy trembled. The fleet that refused to die. When the first armada emerged from shadow, the galaxy finally understood. The humans had not perished, they had prepared. Entire systems had been turned into vaults, shipyards hidden behind collapsing stars, stations buried beneath asteroids, fleets laid to rest not in ruin but in slumber. Their silence had been no accident, it had been design. And now they were waking. The so-called dead ships of Terra did not drift clumsily. They moved with flawless precision, as though centuries had been a single night's rest. Destroyers slid into formation. Cruisers aligned their guns. Battleships that dwarfed anything in modern use advanced with terrifying unity. The galaxy had evolved, but not enough. Every alien navy watched as their sensors confirmed the unthinkable. These ancient human vessels carried weapons beyond comprehension. Hulls layered with alloys resistant to modern plasma fire. Cannons designed to tear moons in half. And their codes, impossibly, were still valid. Council firewalls fell apart as Terran encryption overrode them with ease. The galaxy had mocked a graveyard, but what rose from that graveyard was no corpse. It was a storm preserved in silence. The sky on fire. The first confrontation was almost accidental. The Cathari Combine, proud and fearless, dispatched a fleet of 200 warships to remind the humans of their place in history. What they met was annihilation. The Terran armada did not hesitate. It moved with orchestral precision, an execution rehearsed across centuries of silence. Human ships surged forward, their engines burning like suns, and in less than 12 minutes the Cathari fleet was gone. Not rooted, gone. The galaxy watched in horror as the recording spread. Terran dreadnoughts, thought to be hollow relics, tore through shields as though they were paper. Swarms of automated drones, each carrying the insignia of Earth, erupted from the bellies of carriers and blackened the stars. Their weapons were merciless, precise, and utterly without hesitation. The humans did not broadcast demands. They did not ask for recognition. They only fought with a clarity that chilled every witness. This was not conquest. This was readiness. The graveyard had not been waiting to rule. It had been waiting to awaken.